Alright, so here is my final product right before I ship to the customer. As I began, my daughter decided to help me with planing. She was awfully cute and helpful, as you can see. We had a nice little thumbs up going when she was ready to go, and she helped keep my dust out of the way. Some of you have asked me how I know when my vacuum is too full, so I thought I'd slow this down to show it. As you can see here, you can see some of the dust particles already showing up on the ground, but as this starts to come through, you can see it really shooting out. So that's my clear indicator that it is time to dump it out. These get awfully full. I usually have to change it about 3 times for every 15 boards I'm planing. Once I'm done planing, I'll take them and I'll cut them down into some smaller sizes. It helps me to do some of my joining, because when they're larger boards it seems to be a little bit more difficult, and I usually end up taking off more as I'm joining if I don't cut them down. Then I'm joining them right here to get them to one side at least flat before I take it to cut to width. As I slow things down here, you can see how bowed this is, so I'm looking to try to get that bow out before I take it to cut to width.
Okay, so I put all my stuff into Cut Optimizer now, and I'm going through and figuring out which boards are wet. I have gone ahead and I start by cutting my boards and coming up with a plan. It's much easier for me to join and cut these down to width when they're in smaller sizes. So I add an inch to the size that I actually need when I'm doing the optimizer, and then I'll cut them, join them down, which I've done here. I've cut and joined, and I will get ready to cut down to width. But this is how I get started.
Now here I'm going to be cutting my boards based on the width that my cut planer has. Typically I will select the widths that I have and I just take off a sliver of it so that I'm not wasting any wood. After I'm done with that, I take these and I get ready for biscuiting. So here I'm already biscuiting. I've made lines on where I want them to be. As I zoom in here, you can see a little closer some of them on here. That helps line them up after I'm done actually biscuiting them themselves. After that, I will take and I'll put some boards down to keep it even, and then I will start gluing and placing my biscuits. So I will typically put in a generous layer of glue, and I'll use one of my biscuits to help even it out, and then start placing my biscuits in. Because of the humidity in Wisconsin, these don't usually fit in super well, and I actually have to use the clamps themselves to help join my boards together. So there's obviously a lot of gaps right here, and I will take my boards and help move them together. It's important to try to clamp evenly, or it will cause some bowing. And you'll see me here hammering just to try to even it out just a little bit more. Another important thing to notice is if you clamp too hard, your boards will start to bow up and or down. So I like to place clamps along the edges and on the inside, and then remove the glue that squeezes out of it. After I'm done with that, I'm going to start working on some of the other side pieces and cutting them out. You can see here I got my little newborn on my back. He's teething and is only happy if he's on my back. I'm very convinced he's not bothered by this because I did so much woodworking while I was pregnant with him, it doesn't even faze him. Now I'm starting to put the front face together. I'm going to Kregg some holes in here as I put them together. It's important to remember that as you're creating Kregg holes, the side that faces you as you're drilling is the underside. So if you're particular about what side faces out, you want to make sure you pay extra attention to that. After I'm done putting the holes in, I'm going to get ready to start screwing them together. Because my driveway is not straight, I used these boards here to help provide an even surface as I got ready to screw and glue them down. You can see me using a square as well. That's important so that you make sure everything stays even as you're screwing in. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Just pull it out and try again just like I did. Next up, I like to use my open-ended drum sander to sand my boards down to make sure they're nice and flat. I love this piece because it allows me to go up to 36 inches. I got 18 inches on each side. And my belt actually started to turn too far on one side, so it's really easy. Just use a nail and a wrench and you can adjust that belt so that it doesn't start to fall too far on one side. I will continue to do this on all boards, running them through at the same thickness so that they all are the same at the end until I reach the desired evenness and sanding level that I'm looking for. Once I've reached that, I take the top pieces, I have already cut them to the angle that I was looking for, and then I start Kregging them together. The tricky part about this was I custom cut these pieces to fit the space of the customer, so one side is actually at 156 degrees and the other side is at 158 degrees. So I had to be very particular about which side went where, and then I am kneeling and using boards to help keep this flat and then Kregging the pieces together. This is one of my favorite go-tos when it comes to unique pieces and putting it together. Now that the piece is done, I have pulled it up onto my table and I'm starting to put the bottom supports in. I too have Kregged these pieces together and then I will be gluing and then screwing them down into position.
So the customer has an air register that they want to keep open. So what I'm doing here is I drilled some holes in the corners and I'm just going to take my saw and I'm going to go through and cut this out. Alright, this is the top piece, and before I start standing, I'm going to cut for these electrical outlets that she wanted easy access to, as well as installing these two vents. I just took normal floor vents and I'm going to be sinking them into here. That way she can still get airflow. She's got a vent behind here and then another electrical on this side. So I'm just going to drill these holes out and then we'll get ready to sand.
This is a real simple technique. Just make sure that you screw the corners and then I just take my jigsaw and I get the square out. I'm checking to make sure it fits. It was just a little too tight and then adjusting.
Alright, they're all cut and in place. Got the vents. And now she's ready for some sanding and we'll get ready to stain and put a coat of epoxy on here. I have now put 2 coats of epoxy on. It's fairly even, but there's a lot of bubbles here. I had to put this in before the holiday quick. I'm just going to sand this down and then we'll be ready for our final coat.
cannot say enough how important it is to wear proper protection when sanding epoxy. So here I am sanding, and you can see just how dirty that I got. Very important to protect your face. Here I am now putting together the sides. I'm using these little red clamps that help me keep it square, which was very important here for me. If these aren't square, the doors are not going to sit straight. Now as that is drying, I'm working on the rails and stiles for the raised panel doors. I usually do all of my rails first and then my stiles next, and I will mark them R and S on my boards to make sure that I keep them straight. Always make sure to test one of your first pieces and make sure that they slide in perfectly. I had already tested on some samples, so I was sure that these were going to work out. Now that I have them put together, I'm just getting these clamps ready to go, and I will start gluing them together.
Alright, so I have now taken all the boards and I have sanded them down. I started at 120, went all the way up to 220, and now I'm getting ready to stain.
Now I've got all 4 of them ready to go. I'm sanding them and getting ready to start staining.
I have now assembled all of the pieces besides the top. Top's inside, getting some epoxy to dry. I've done my doors, so I'm going to get ready to stain this now. Another important thing to do when you're doing woodworking is to check the moisture content in your wood. And because it has been so moist, I'm just doing one final check. And she all looks within range, which is perfect. Got one of these off of Amazon, fairly cheap, really helpful. And you can change based on what you're looking at. You can see it's sensing me right now. And it'll beep at you when it's too high, but you can, there's probes up here. Gives me my temperature, and then I can check drywall, masonry, and then my soft and hardwoods. So, really nice. Well, with it continuing to rain all the time this summer, we had to take this project inside so we could finish in time. She is officially complete. There are panel doors on each of the sides. In the center, and then the other side, got 2 vents and 2 electrical outlets. The top here was 3 coats of epoxy. I sanded it down for the matte finish, and then I put this on there, and it gives us this really beautiful polished look. So I hope she loves this, and we'll find out tomorrow after delivery.
Once again, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, feel free to like, share, comment, or subscribe.